Welcome, everyone. This is the Ends Justify the Memes, this show where the lowest of the low, that is the most wretched of wretched and deplorable, to end all deplorables. Two white, heterosexual Christian males from the American South who talk about culture, philosophy, history, health, fitness, and what it means to be a man in the 21st century. I'll be your host, Bill, and this is my producer and co-host, Tank. And today we have a great man builder, Elliott Hulse.
Hey, I just figured out Tank, like in the movie The Matrix, right? You even dress like him a little bit. You're behind the scenes, like tapping the buttons and shit while the Matrix is unfolding, and you're driving a rocket ship.
I wasn't clever enough for that, but I'm gonna go with it since you're saying it. I guess that works.
Yeah. It's like, cool. Did you not pick that up, Bill? That he's Tank from the Matrix?
I didn't pick it up, but it works.
So he has a Christian name that is going to remain anonymous, but he was like, what should I go with? And he's like, is Tank stupid? I'm like, nah, dude, I don't care. And he's like, all right, it's Tank. So he picked his own name.
Tank. You have to go rewatch The Matrix. Have you ever watched that?
Yeah.
You got to go watch it. That's you.
I'm
the guy with the curly hair, didn't he? But he died early in the movie, didn't he? Yeah, you look like you have a little bit of black in you or something.
Well, we not expect you to distribute black pills immediately. We thought you were an inspirational fellow.
No, I'm just real. That gives you life, then inspire away. If it gives you death, then expire, bitch.
That works too. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm really glad about that. I'm glad that like it makes sense though, because when I came up with this name, I was like, this is gonna be a stupid name, and then you just made it make sense. So I'm gonna start telling people that from now on.
Like him with your hat backwards and stuff, or whatever you got on your head. But the jean jacket, because he was like a cool dude. He was like a young cool dude behind the computer, right?
Yeah,
that's you, man. You pull it off.
This is the best show we've ever had.
I'm Morpheus.
Yeah.
That's why I know.
Does that make me Neo then?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I have been
since. We gotta unplug you.
Yeah, I'm sure you know of course you were at the Warriors Protector Summit, you train with Rich, Greg Mihovich, I'm sure is one of his buddies, one of the instructors there. He's a friend of mine, and that's years ago. My hair was much longer, and that was Greg was saying, hey John Wick, come here, John.
Yeah,
we can go with that, but recently it's been more like Johnny Silverhand. I feel like that's in the air. So with the Cyberpunk 2020. Anyways, man, Tank, you want to roll the Memecast news sounder, and we'll get into some memes with Elliott?
I sure do. As soon as I find it. Okay, here we go.
Starting off strong, guys. In today's world, we must all be culturally sensitive, except to the Irish. But gives me heritage. Today is St. Paddy's Day, guys.
Happy St. Paddy's Day.
And speaking of Irish, we have old Joe Biden in office as the president, who said, if we do our part by the 4th, there's a good chance you and your families and your friends will be able to get together in your backyard or in your neighborhood and have a cookout or a barbecue and celebrate Independence Day. Small groups will be able to get together. I'm glad that Joe Biden can tell us how to celebrate our independence by giving it back to us if we just comply.
Yeah, but who complied with having it taken away to begin with? Like, I don't know what planet he's living on. I've been getting together with my family since this first day COVID hit, and we get together every weekend. We're always hanging out.
Yeah, right.
I'm curious because sometimes I believe I live in a bubble, and I'm wondering who's actually living the way he's describing. Do you guys know anybody? Do you guys refrain from being around your family?
I have a family member who refrains, but not the rest of us, not the rest. So And it's sad. It's
And
a
that's
sad
probably
thing.
your insane family member, right?
Something like that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. We have
Yeah.
one of those. One on my wife's side.
Everybody has one of those. I mean, this kind of goes with the spirit of what you were just saying, though. It's like, y'all stop barbecuing?
Right. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, who stopped barbecue? It says Missouri. It should say Florida too.
Right. Well, I'm in West Virginia, and we have rules, but no one, like, we do what we want still. No sheriffs enforcing that. And of course, we have this. I'll let y'all know if you can have a 4th of July party. Not to worry, I have a permit.
Yeah.
The old Constitution. Of course, they don't really care about that, as we all know.
No.
Here we have, can I order the filet steak, please? And the vegetable? Oh, he'll have chicken nuggets.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to strain it for him to chew it up for him so he can use a spoon to eat it.
Did you see the new conspiracy theory that's been floating on Twitter today with that video that he was in?
No.
Well, so,
yes.
Yeah.
It was green screened, yes.
Yeah, the conspiracy, not that I'm the type of person to spread conspiracies or anything, but yeah, he's basically walking up to some reporters and they're asking, I forget what the question is, but it looks like there's like a couple of microphones in the shot. It looks like his hand goes through it, like it's overlaid on a green screen very poorly.
Right. Yeah.
And some people were saying there's helicopter noises, but the blades on the helicopter aren't turning. So, I mean, I don't know, make of that what you will, but it looks pretty interesting.
The media has been making up fake scenes for news forever. All you got to do is look at like the like when there's a hurricane in Florida is the funniest thing. There's no wind, but the guy on the that's doing the broadcast, I think somebody has a hose and they're spraying him with a fan, and he's acting like there's a big storm, but there's no storm. It's doing the same shit with this guy.
Yeah,
he's not the real president. They're faking, just like they faked that storm with the hose and the fan to make it look like there's a hurricane. They're faking with the scene behind him, like he's not actually at the Oval Office. They just faking that.
Well, you remember just the other year they had a firing range from what was it? Some Midwestern state. There was a firing range with a bunch of tracers and automatic weapons, and they said it was like Syria or Iran or something like that. Yeah, I mean, they do the crap all the time.
Did you ever hear that the moon might have been staged in Nevada? Landing on the moon.
Stanley Cooper directed that.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah,
I've heard. If we're gonna go down that rabbit hole, I've heard that before.
Hey, Elliot, I'm all about going down rabbit holes. That's a big part of the show, man. The show is a meta meme within itself, so we go wherever the show goes. Speaking of conspiracies and media, it says every time I watch a Tucker Carlson clip, I find myself slipping into despair. How is any democracy supposed to survive when half the population is consistently being bombarded with conspiracy theories and racist paranoia?
Right. He's 100% right. Trump is Hitler. That's the most retarded thing I've ever heard.
Right?
Is your baby racist? Is that serious?
Oh, yeah. There have been numerous articles about that recently. And then here we have the other side of this, the QAnon type folks. It says that there's still a 0.8% chance Trump is the next president. Don't give up hope, Patriots. The storm is coming.
They had me for a long time, man. I believe right up until the last moment. I was like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. The whole thing is gonna get exposed. Man, I was so let down that I kicked myself for believing that bullshit.
I mean, I can see how people fall prey. It's funny because when I was in Florida, I think it was after the summit was over, and we were trying to get my wife's grandfather moved from a nursing home closer to family. But we ate lunch, and some guys like 2 tables down were talking about QAnon stuff. And I was like, are they really talking about QAnon stuff here?
Oh,
and
yeah.
it just proved the Florida man meme to me even more.
Yeah, I'm definitely a Florida man. Those are definitely Florida men. Florida's hard red, man. Super red.
I understand, man. I have family there. A lot of family there.
I love Florida stuff. Florida's like, well, okay, so of the few times I've been to Florida, I've been probably about 4 or 5 times. I always feel like I'm going to a different country in a good way. I'm like, I love every time I feel like I'm meeting different people, but I love every one of them. We had a 12-hour layover at Fort Lauderdale before I flew to Nicaragua. And I had almost as fun there as I did like the whole time I was in Nicaragua. So it was a good time.
Man. I mean,
Yep.
last time I was there, I love the Gulf side in general, though. Just beautiful, beautiful.
I've been to St. Augustine a few times too, and that was always fun.
Have you done the ghost tours?
I did in St. Augustine. I did do that ghost tour. Yeah, I paid my $25 for it. Do what?
Did your ghost meter go off and there was a ghost next to you?
I think it did actually. If I remember, yeah, it did. Yeah, we because they took us around Old St. Augustine and they gave us like the little things. Yeah, my ghost meter went off, and then he yelled at me, like tried to scare me, and I was scared. I'll be honest. I ain't above it, but yeah.
And then right next door we have the NASA station.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you got like ghosts, and then you got rocket ships. Florida's definitely running.
Florida's great, and I love like when you're driving south into Florida on like Highway 95. There's all these places that are like free orange juice, like on the side of the road, and then you pull off, and they don't tell you that the free orange juice is still inside the orange, and they hand you a big orange slice, and I eat the orange slice, and I bought one of those little alligator heads that you sit on your bookshelf. It's got the little mouth. Best time. I love Florida.
All I know is that I drove back with my wife and we left 80-degree Florida, and it was about a 15-hour drive with stops, and she's pregnant, so we had extra stops. And when we got back just to the border of West Virginia where we live at, it started snowing, and we had to drive back through snow. So 80 degrees was much nicer than the return home. In any case, we also have here some more news with cameras catching looters stealing trillions.
Except for when they turn off the camera and they do it at nighttime while we're all sleeping, and they wake up in the morning and then we see it's all gone.
Yep. And then of course we have foreign countries, the House and the Senate. I don't know about you guys, but I got my stimulus check already. $1,400 per child. Hold on, Murray. Maybe that baby kind of does look like that. And
yeah, so now there's incentive to have babies.
Once again, finally, right? So here we have. So what would you like to see with your stimulus check chambered in? And I think this is what a lot of people are going to be doing. I, for one, I don't know if I'll be buying a new firearm, but I will be probably buying some nice optics for one I've been building for a while.
Good choice. Yeah.
Yep. Of course, we all know that the Federal Reserve Bank is monopoly money. So, guys, be smarter than to just, do stupid stuff with your stimulus check. Like I said, buying a gun isn't such a bad investment, in my opinion. Says Americans, why does life keep getting more expensive? The Federal Reserve.
Oh, I don't know.
And with the government, we also have some news in the military. It says new M1 Abrams tanks to come equipped with changing tables because of the pregnant ladies now going to be in combat.
Yeah, that's amazing. Or the guys that are doing it.
Well, it might be men birthing babies the way things are going now, Elliot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Identified as a woman.
Right. Now, this is really crazy. This is soldiers' responsibilities. And I kind of get this, and having been in the Marine Corps and then working in law enforcement later on, I get you have these classes, but the 3%ers, guys, that's not a terroristic group. That's just a bunch of people that are like, we'll protect the Constitution. The Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers. Right here's a Kekistan flag. That's an internet meme.
It's got Pepe in there.
I know.
Pepe.
Now, some of this, that's like SS and Antifa. Yeah, screw them. But what? Like,
notice how Antifa is all the way at the bottom right corner.
Right.
The last one. Really, it should be the first one.
My question is who does the intel on this? I can tell you nobody, because they're getting it from the lefties. That's why it's mostly leftist nonsense.
They pay some bureaucrat $65,000 a year to look on Twitter every once in a while.
Right. How has serving impacted you? My wife had 10 guys while I was gone, and I'm afraid of fireworks.
Oh my God.
Very common story. Very, very common story. This is generally how you find out that something like that happened. It's not quite.
Wait a minute.
Really, and that's on their website.
You told
This might happen to you.
on the Rangers website, right? Yeah.
Wow,
And,
what
apparently
happened?
they are trying out new uniforms in the military. I
Hell
kinda dig
yeah.
it. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I would join the military tomorrow if they had uniforms like that. Skies out, thighs out.
Mosquitoes.
Says, so Agent Simmons, how's that online far right infiltration going for you? Yeah, well, Tank, this is for you, buddy.
Well, now I did get radicalized on the internet, so I guess that's true.
Tank's not a fan of the bombing, but he's a fan of the writing. The writing of
Who's a fan of anime?
well, that's like a running joke online with the alt right. I mean, I like anime, but I guess it's all the alt right. They're all weebs and they all want to marry anime girls or something. I mean, I don't know.
I think
I'm
it's
half a
the
boomer,
boys.
so.
I think it's the other way around. Actually, I think it's the guys who have blue hair. They're the ones, and they're the ones that are screaming social justice. It's the other way around.
You're probably right, but the joke is that they're all going after girls. That there's something about bionicles too and autism. There's a couple things going around there. But like I said, I'm half a boomer. I don't even qualify to run this show. Says retirement plan: move to Mexico, give up citizenship, come back illegally, set for life.
Hell yeah.
And actually, I really like this. It says we're going to Mexico to vote in their elections, demand free health care while waving the American flag. If they ask for our papers, we'll riot, attack police, and sue them. You up for a road trip? I don't know, Tank. You ready? You ready to go, man?
Yeah, I mean Mexico sounds dope. I'll go.
Dude, I'm about ready to take my buddy Marco. He's from Mexico originally. He's always wanting to go back. You know, kids are what keeps him here in the States.
Yeah.
Hello, CNN. I have secret information about the leader of North Korea, but I want to remain anonymous. So, if you hadn't heard in the news, there was a big retraction by the New York Times, but not necessarily elsewhere, where they had printed that Trump basically asked for election rigging himself, and that was hearsay. That wasn't fact.
Yeah. Did you say CNN?
Well, it was New York Times that printed that, but all of them put out the story.
Who cares what they say? Who actually listens to what they have to say anymore? Does anybody actually read that shit and believe it?
I mean, I don't, but I do think that there are actually a lot of people that do. I think you're hanging out with too many cool people.
No, I just live in a bubble. I live in an echo chamber. I only have the thoughts that I want to have, and I only read things that align with my thoughts. Everything else is like a different planet to me.
Do you feel good about that? Is that all right?
Yeah,
with you?
I like my echo chamber. I don't want to hear the echoes of other people's chamber. Their chamber sound like shit. My chamber sound the best. So I just want to keep hearing what I want to hear, which is me and my thoughts and everything that aligns with it. Everybody else, they need to jump in the lake.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, you know, when I went to college, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to college and hear a bunch of, different ideas. And I started the same shit that I'd always heard. Like none of this shit was new. You guys aren't saying anything new here.
Well, that's how bad the indoctrination.
They take it to the 10th degree.
Right.
Now, you heard about it, you've seen it on TV, and you notice people talking about it on the internet. But when you get to college, they shove it down your throat.
Yeah.
It's like now you must submit fully to this ideology. You can't just be not racist. You have to be anti-racist.
Absolutely, and that's how far we can tell that they've taken it. The institutions have taken it. Is that it's so prevalent in our culture, right? And like, if you don't get it from the culture alone, like just via osmosis, you're going to be indoctrinated in college unless you were strong-willed and already in your firm in your beliefs.
Yeah.
So here it says, noticing anything about the Huffington Post editor meeting, which was an old tweet, and it says, yeah, I noticed that they're all fired now.
Is that right? They're all fired?
I don't know about all these women, but yeah, it's not there's been a lot of firings. There's a lot of shrinkage in media. There has been for a while, but with the Orange Man being gone, and now he's not on Twitter. So you can't complain about anything because you can't hear what he has to say. What's he doing? He's down there in Florida with you playing golf. So.
That's right. Yeah, they're all fired. Yeah, they have nothing to complain about. What are they going to talk about now? You got to go home and figure something else out.
Well, they could talk about Andrew Cuomo putting all the old people in death camps. Basically, they could talk about Biden on a CGI camera, but they're not going to talk about that.
Well, speaking of Cuomo and death camps, it says Cuomo invites all accusers to come forward and gather in a New York nursing home.
Crime boss Cuomo.
Right, but they're not talking about this. They're talking about his sexual assaults, and he's like, "I'm not leaving."
Hey,
all the other creepsters there.
Hey, I see Bill Cosby.
Yeah,
dipping your spoon into the pudding.
And then there are two types of governors in America: the grandma killer and sexual predator, and the free Florida man having beers at Bike Week.
Oh yeah,
that dude is amazing. DeSantis. He's actually from pretty close by here, Clearwater. That's an awesome dude, man. I'm so happy that we have him.
Yeah, I think he would probably do well to run for president coming soon. It might help. I mean, I'm pretty much done with the federal government, but I feel like DeSantis would be, a pretty good president where we're at right now.
Yep. He just so when they were trying to have fines for people not wearing masks, first they were trying to, the various cities and the counties in Florida, some of the more lefty cities, they were levying fines on the businesses if they didn't have, if people came in with no masks, right? And even in some of the places, they would even fine the people, and you'll get like a bill for not wearing it. And that's pretty typical in most of these states. It's just like the level of crime that they're engaging in. Well, anyway, last week he forgave all the fines. Anybody ever got a fine for not wearing a mask since 2020? It's wiped off. We don't want your money. Walk around breathing fresh air, people.
That's awesome. And I can tell you what, again, while I was down there, so I had to go up to, where we were at, the area. I didn't see a lot of people complying with mask mandates that were local. They're not from the state government there, but there are some local supposed mandates or whatever. But I went up to Ocala, which is, a bit up the road because I have family there, and visited, and it was the same. And I was happy about that there were a lot of people roaming around Florida without mask compliance. It joys my heart. Gives me great pleasure. Speaking of which, this is Florida, and that's your state.
Yeah, that's about right.
And we have here, so Cardi B and a bunch of other fools at the Grammys made a bunch of asses of themselves, but people are making this comparison. It says, oh yeah, Mr. Potato Head is totally the problem. I'm glad we cleared that up because cancel culture is rampant. But I have a solution with the poor cartoon characters. We'll just do this. We'll have Porn Flakes and Booty Pops, Vice Krispies, and Sugar Tits.
Sugar Tits.
Oh yeah, that's perfectly fine.
I've always liked Sugar Tits.
They'll want all of our children eating that stuff up.
Yeah, right. Get them hooked on that sugar and that dopamine response, as well as the sexuality. I think that's a good reward system there, Elliott.
Mm-hmm. Just don't call Mr. Potato Head Mr. You gotta call him
Potato Head.
All right. Or Zer. Don't call him
Zer.
You gotta call him Zer.
Did you know that?
Yeah, that's a pronoun. A pronoun is Zer. It's between sir and her.
And that's pretty much my thoughts. Yeah, canceling fictional characters just makes you look like a dumbass. Change my mind. Speaking of canceled characters, this will probably be the last week I run a Dr. Seuss meme because it's getting old. But I'm sick of leftists here and there. I'm sick of leftists everywhere. They ruin all the things they touch. They ruin everything so much. I'll tell you when it all stops, when commies get helicopter drops.
Oh, spicy.
Yeah, he says, get in, loser. We're dropping commies.
Yeah.
I don't want things to go that way, but they might have to.
Well, they kill them. They kill. That's how they do it. After the revolution, they line up all the useful idiots and shoot them against the wall. So they're going to be killing themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of the media and things covered that are stupid, we have millionaire royals, billionaire celebrity discussing oppression from an idyllic villa. There was a better meme with a pile of cash, and I don't know what happened to it. I had it, disappeared. Oh, well. You guys do your own mean miming. That's all I have to say.
Once again, who cares?
Right, exactly.
Care what these people are doing. The only reason why it gets any news is because people watch it. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, we're just more or less making fun of it. So maybe we shouldn't even do that. But here we have Meghan Markle inspires millions of young girls with the message that no matter how famous, rich, powerful they are, they will always be oppressed.
True.
Yeah. And of course, she's got to pick between her oppression, destroy the royals for destroying the White House, or the White House was built on slaves' backs. Hard choice.
I would like to oppress my elbow right into her forehead. How's that oppression feel? Oh, you left an oppression on my head. Yep, it's in the oppression of my elbow.
She don't want that either. I can tell you, Elliott's thick. We did medical drills together, and I had to feel him up, and dude's got some thickness to him.
Okay. All right.
Do you feel dominated by your wife? No, he doesn't.
Yeah, what a simp.
Your uncle is a pedophile. So you're not the only elephant in the room. We're outside. In more stupid news, we have hiking has a diversity problem. These whatever stupid terminology that is are working to fix it.
POC means people of color. I don't know what BI means though.
It means black and indigenous of color.
The BIPOC.
Black indigenous people of color. You know what's funny? Somebody said this to me the other day, and it's the weirdest thing. So it's racist to say colored people, right? Like, so I grew up knowing that like white people are not supposed to call you colored, but you could say people of color. It's just a longer way of saying colored people.
I agree, Elliot, and I've made the same point. I don't understand why colored people is wrong. Just saying that might get us yeeted off YouTube. I mean, it probably won't, but it might.
Someone needs to tell that to the NAACP. But
colored
anyway,
people is a nice term.
Yeah,
right.
What's wrong with that term? I kind of like that term. People of color just sounds way too formal, fucked up, made up, and diabolical. If I'd rather be called a colored person. Yeah, I'm a person. I got color on my skin. Colored person. But person of color just sounds condescending.
Yeah, it's like Kizza and Michael Mouse. Who's that? Yuri. What's his last name?
Yuri Bezmenov.
Yuri Bezmenov talks about this in the part of propaganda's goal is to humiliate you, and that's kind of what this is, right? It's about making you jump through some stupid hoop that is obviously stupid for the purpose of, making you feel like an asshole.
Yeah, and here we have a report. It says next week, California Department of Education will vote on a new statewide ethnic studies curriculum that urges students to chant to Aztec deity of human sacrifice and cannibalism, asking him for the power to be warriors for social justice. The curriculum also advocates the decolonization of American society and argues that students must be educated about their oppression in order to overthrow their oppressors. What? Along with the curriculum calls for the counter-genocide against white Christians. Hey, Tank. We're in that group, man. You're talking about us. I just want to be noticed,
I
As long
want to
as
know
they're
what
talking
people
about me.
think it's going to look like if America is decolonized. Do they think it's going to go back to Indians chanting around the teepee days? We're all going to share our corn and shit like that. Do they really believe that, or is it going to turn into a demonic hellhole like South Africa is right now, where it's genocide on white people, which is actually what they're calling for?
Elliot, we're close in age, I believe. I'm 40. Do you remember growing up? Were things really bad, like racially? Do you think, for the most part, most people didn't care? Do you feel like, I don't know? Did you feel growing up in any way like you were discriminated against, or do you think maybe that might have been, if you did, a chip on your shoulder? Like,
the only discrimination I experienced was when I was looking for it because I was taught that it was out there. So there were a lot of times where I felt like I was being discriminated against because I had my reticular activating system heightened. Like, okay, white people, there must be together, and there's nobody else. There must be something wrong about this. And then you go, you start looking for all the things that are wrong. What did he say there? Whoop, that handle looks like a noose. Remember that?
Yeah, right.
Like, you make it stuff up. That could be racist. Wait, that could be racist. What did you call me? That could be racist. And so that's really what's happening with black people right now. They're looking around, or people of color, colored folks is looking around like, what can I actually call racist? Oh, people are hiking. Well, there's more white people hiking than black people. That shit must be racist. They're just making it up because they've been told that it's there. But if you realize it's not there, all of a sudden you don't see it no more. Poof, that's how you solve racism. Stop looking for it.
right. And I'm sure your experience as a trainer and a coach of young men into manhood and all that, you've probably seen far less of that. And you just guys coming to you as a mentor or a guru or whatever you consider yourself, based on your wisdom and your experience and your ability to teach and train them, right? Like, who cares? Nobody cares except for these crazy SJW types.
Right. And it's the white people that make people care. It's the white
Right.
people that made the whole thing up.
Yep.
They made up the idea of racism to make people of color, colored folks, I gotta get that right, feel oppressed, and just so they could turn them against various different factions of white people. And right now you can see it because the bottom line on that meme is what? Counter genocide against white Christians. The whole idea is to make people not just angry, but make them love sin, make them love anything that's anti-Christ, and hate God, hate Christ, and hate Christians.
Amen, brother. 1000%. I agree with you. Speaking of which, since we're talking about hating God and the creation, here we have old formerly Ellen Page, now Elliott. Sorry, buddy. This just happened to be in the news. I know it's stupid, but anyways, time. I'm fully who I am now. So she went from being this lovely young woman to a teenage boy. She is like in her 40s. Of course, you are getting a great value in this.
Oh, she's an ugly boy.
I know. a weak
shame.
boy. Also very short. I'm a short guy, but I think she's only like 5'2" or 5'3". Like, there's no empowerment in any of this here.
No, I think they do this. I think they choose these people and they either pay them off or they threaten their lives. These are Hollywood people in order to make them put on this show to push an agenda. I was thinking about Bruce Jenner, and Bruce Jenner I think about, for some reason I was thinking about how he grew up and maybe he was like trying to be an athlete. He did real well. Somebody thought that he would be good in Hollywood, good in the public eye. So they gave him a chance. But I think a lot of times, I'm just making this shit up. But yeah, I'm making it up. I think what happens a lot of times with these people, it's just my guess, is that at some point they sign a contract with the devil where Satan says, oh, we're going to make you famous. We're going to make you rich and famous. People are going to want to know all about you, and they're going to think about you. And there's this sense of pride that comes with that. It's like, yes, make me famous. But all you have to do is whatever we tell you. I'll do whatever you tell me. All right, now it's time. You got to cut off your penis and you got to take these hormones. You're going to turn into a woman. Wait, no, I didn't. That's not what I signed up for. You signed this dotted line. You owe us your soul. and thus penis is coming off. And they cut that guy's dick off, put hormones on him, put a wig on his head, and made him the sexiest woman alive. Crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And then you become a walking meme, right? I mean, as this meme suggests.
Yeah, she looks like she was specifically modeled herself after that meme.
She looks like Joseph Gordon-Levitt back before he came into his own manhood and his acting career. That's what she looks like to me. And very skinny, like I was saying yesterday on so we have friends, other YouTubers, much bigger channel, but the Weekly Narrative, Jeremy and Delaney, I was saying on their channel last night, I was saying I almost feel like she's doing this because this is how she regains her youth. Because as a woman who's getting into her 40s and aging, well, now I can go back and go, well, I'm a boy and I look like, you know, some dude in his early 20s at best, you know. I don't know. Either way, it's just
I didn't
pure.
realize she's in her 40s.
I'm pretty sure, but it's pure narcissism.
Wow, that's crazy.
Who's in their 40s? This same woman here?
Yeah.
So if she was trying to like cover up her hitting the wall by turning into a boy, Bruce Jenner must have been like, I'm just gonna jump in after the wall. I'm an old motherfucker, and I'm gonna be an old bitch right away. You know what the sad thing is though? You went back to that other picture. Go back to that Great Value picture.
Yeah, man.
You know what it is? It's not even that she's an ugly boy, and that's not it, because on the surface you look for like ugly features. It's the look in her eyes. That's a sad person, and that's
she's a
what's
vegan though, bro. She's a vegan. I'm pretty sure that's part of it.
Oh,
you age fast too with that.
Yeah,
you look like a sad person. Like there's a lot of pain there.
Wait, was she vegan before she decided to become a dude?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure she's a vegan though.
You're not even a good dude. You're not even making it. You're not even successful as a guy because your testosterone levels is going to be. You need to have a steak. Be a real man. If you're gonna add a dick to me, act like a real man.
There you go. That's right. Eat a steak. I like it.
Wouldn't it be funny if like one of these like female to male transgender people came out and was like, oh, I want to be a man, so I'm gonna get a 550 deadlift. you don't see shit like that.
No problem.
No, you just have chicks doing it.
Yeah.
So here we have Hulu, who killed Jeffrey Epstein, and Hillary. A little subliminal messaging there.
They hide in plain sight.
Yep. If you don't recall, happy anniversary, 1 year of 2 weeks to slow the spread. And we have idiots. So, Elliott, you talked about living in a bubble. I haven't seen any of this, but it exists. It is real.
Yeah.
Who's that scared? Like,
oh, they are, or compliant, or whatever. Here, look, man. Here's this. This is a cartoon, of course, by Jim Bob, and it says homeschool kids are not properly socialized. This is
good.
Yeah, this is my one family member.
That's the whole thing, they have this whole idea that children need to be socialized, or that they gotta learn how to get along with others. But when the others are stupid, I don't want my kids to get along with them. I don't want them to be socialized with them. I rather my kids don't be a part of the culture.
Exactly. Build your own culture in your family. And then, of course, we have, we need to destroy the lives of 99% of the population to protect the 0.01% that are vulnerable. If 0.01% of the vaccine recipients die from the vaccine, that's a tiny, irrelevant percentage. Which one do you pick?
Exactly. That's called doublethink.
Yep. Here we have breaking news. Handyman accidentally isolates a virus. It was inside the TV all along.
Yeah.
Folks, get off your TV. And here we have Clown World, Ride the Ball, a survival manual for aristocrats and Clown World by Clowness Honkola.
Yeah.
So, guys,
this is the cover of a Julius Evola book. If anyone's actually curious what that cover is,
if we want to avoid the Clown World, then we can't put up with stuff like this. It says, "One day you'll be a man, Dad. I'm 32, but you're pro-choice."
Yep, you're a woman.
Yep. And look, guys, if we put up with stuff like that, then we will be this in 40 years. By the way, I am not affiliated with any political party. I am an independent, but I do believe that the Republicans, not the people in charge, but Republican people tend to be the more level-headed people. But this is what the party itself and those in government will probably do, and that is free oxygen, but that's socialist. Wants a return on tradition to 2010 society. It's okay with moderate use of child heroin. Not every conservative is being a pedophile like that every conservative is a pedophobe like that bigot Charlie Kirk.
A pedophobe. Does that mean you're against pedophiles?
Yeah, I believe so.
And so what do you call somebody that's pro-pedophilia? Satan?
Ooh. Well, yeah, or just evil in general. But anyways, guys, I will not read all of this. What I will say is that I hope that AOC's predictions are right, because this needs to happen. And
yeah.
And we need to start educating and leading, because if we do not lead, and we are not men, and we keep blaming women and not, instead of blaming ourselves for allowing women to do this to ourselves, to do this to our nation, like nothing will ever change. And here's one of the big things that we need to get a hold of. It says 84% of working women told Forbes woman that staying home to raise children is a financial luxury they aspire to. More than 1 in 3 resent their partner for not earning enough money to make that a reality. And of course, this has come at this other cost as well. Women's suffrage, higher taxes, less children. And then all of the social justice stuff is being run by women. It's run by Twitter. 10% of the users do 80% of the tweets. And of this top 10, 2/3 are women. Imagine that.
Yep.
Imagine that.
We live in a matriarchy. If anybody opens up their eyes and sees we're not in a patriarchy. We haven't been in a patriarchy in a very long time.
I agree. And yet the powers that be, they want this. They want this. You got to put those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you to be independent in your home and raising families. They want to be the authority, and they want to be your family, much like Plato's Republic. And with that, we have no groups, wash your hands, trust government, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Then it's trust the government, wash your hands, no groups. Then it's trust the government, wash your hands. And then it's just trust the government.
Yep.
And
I haven't washed my hands since last June.
Tank, that is all I have. Go ahead and play that outro, bud, for the Memecast.
Sorry, I cut you off there a little bit.
Oh, whatever. So, yo, Elliott. I haven't heard that in a while. What happened to that, man?
That was fun, bro.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys do? You get together and you do memes?
Yeah, we just talk shit. That's all we do.
We've been doing this show for about 6 months, slowly building. Recently, been able to get some pretty good guests on, and we want to continue to do that. And
that's a pretty good hook.
Yeah.
Where did you come up with that?
I don't know. I grew up as an artist, dude. I'm always thinking. I'm always trying to do something new. I don't know. Always trying to create. Now's not a good time to do this whole quasi-political cultural commentary thing, though, because it's a real quick way to get canceled. But
fun.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. I know we don't have you forever, but we do have you for a little bit. So let's talk about some of that manosphere stuff. And I don't know, do you have like a shtick that you usually say how you see? I know we kind of covered it there, but how you see the culture going and what men need to do to retake it?
Yeah, we gotta bring fathers back, make fathers great again, because we need families. The reason why the children are so lost is because we don't have families, or broken families. The reason why I have broken families is because there's no more strong fathers. I think something like 60% of young men are raised in homes without a father. Most of the times when there's a father, the father is also effeminate because he grew up in a fatherless world where they teach you to hate the father. And so my mission is to make men strong again. I know I can't do that by myself. I know I can't do that with some fancy words and some motivational videos. It has to be done at the root, it has to be done at the core, it has to be done in the home. And that's why we have to recognize that things like divorce, promiscuity, contraception, that's even a conversation that's hard to have. All these things are designed and have been designed from its incept, and now we're actually just basically at the the pinnacle of the perversion of the family. So you go from contraception to homosexuality, because that's what homosexuality is. Homosexuality is a form of contraception, but contraception comes first. And if you notice, that's what happened in our culture. We accepted contraception, and the next thing you know was, okay, is gay marriage, gay lifestyle, and now, which, okay, so there's, which is sterile sex anyway. When you have contraception sex, it's sterile sex. It's masturbating on somebody else's body, and so it likens itself onto the ability just to jerk off with a dude's body, because there's no life, there's no risk. You're just putting your dick in somebody's butt at the shithole. And now we have trans kids. So it very quickly went from, hey, take this pill and you can have all the sex you want, to your son might be a girl. And at the age of 4, if you don't give him hormones and have his little pee-pee cut off, you might be transphobic. Right? It was a very slippery slope, but it happened very quickly. 1950s, 1960s, we're like 50, 60, 70 years, 60 years ago. So we live in a weird, wacky clown world.
Yeah, man. And I we talked a little bit before the show about this, but I'm completely there with you. I will often see your stuff on Instagram, and I'll comment on occasion, and I'll see guys try to argue against some of the ideas you throw out there, because you're usually like, let me know what you think in the comments. And I remember a little while ago, you were talking about this idea of basically out of control women, and that you were training women in the gym, which is your primary job, right? Is you're a strength coach. And so you're training these women, and then they start getting these like kind of fit bodies, and all of a sudden they want to leave their man. Well, I'm right there with you, man. I understand it. And my thing is always, I said, it goes back to the men, because the men aren't taking care of their women. They're not being real men. The women would be loyal if they would have the proper boundaries set with their spouse.
You said it.
Yeah. Boundaries. Yeah. Proper boundaries, respect, all of those things. A woman, guys, cannot respect you if you do not have boundaries. She just walks on you. And women instinctively try to push those boundaries. They don't know why they're doing it. I'm just telling you right now. They do it, though. And it's a test. It is a test to see if they can make you move. And it might be a big old argument, and they might be really mad. I'll tell you, in the end, if you stand your ground, they will respect you. And every inch you give over time, they will lose respect. And that's not to say you can't compromise with your wife or significant other over certain issues, but there are boundaries. There are hard boundaries that we all have. And as a man, especially a man who's going to be a leader, if you're going to be a father and have a family, then you need to definitely know what those are. And the other thing with the commenters, one of them I remember specifically, I commented, I was like, no, absolutely. Like, if a guy picks a bad woman, that's his fault. The bad woman, because people are like, oh no, women could do this and that. And I've seen it to so many guys. It's like, me too. I've experienced it, dude. My first wife, my daughter's mother, who my daughter doesn't even talk to her mother, if it gives you any indication of the type of person that she is. And I picked this terrible person because I was still a boy. I hadn't came into my manhood, even though I was in the Marine Corps and I was in Iraq and whatever else. That didn't make me a man. I hadn't figured out my boundaries and how to go about my life and make the world my own, right? And this guy was like, "Oh no, women, they're bad women." Okay, I get that. Still your fault. Still your fault for picking a bad woman. My fault. I picked a bad woman. Had to go through the trauma of that and whatever else, and come into manhood the hard way. And one of the reasons why I talk to you all this way, I do it on my own channel. That is All Minus One. Anyone here who might be new, who hasn't heard, I have my own channel separate from the live show. on Minus One, I talk about these things because it's very important, and so many men don't know this. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted you here, Elliott, because you preach about this all the time, and of course, you have a much larger audience. So, anyways, what are your thoughts on that, man?
Well, you know, I feel for you when you say what you went through, but of course, you know, that offers you a lot of wisdom.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
dealing with your wife. Unfortunately, you know, there's some karma created there too, because then you got your daughter, and you know, hopefully you break that cycle, but it could be a perpetual thing. I just have to put out there that I am so blessed. I don't know why or how, but God just delivered me with certain graces. I think we all have various graces, but when it comes to father and family, for me, I come from a home with a father. I actually have a father. That's a rare thing these days, to actually grow up in a home with a man in the home. And not only that, but like a strong man. My dad is a strong man. He's a manly man. He's an alpha male. So that, coupled with the fact that I met my wife when and started dating her, I basically got married at like age 15. We started dating very young. And so that afforded us both to, first of all, grow up very quickly, but at the same time, you could say we missed out, but I rather say we were saved from the promiscuous culture. And, you know, being both for male and female, being sluts, you know, being out there and having a whole lot of messed up sexual experiences and relationship experiences with people. So before, you know, by mere virtue of having a father and then being a father, creating a family from that very unique beginning, you know, dating very young and getting married at age 23, provides me with like a sort of a traditional experience, traditional mindset that I think is very lacking in this world. And I seek to bring value to the world by sharing what it's like to have a father and to create a real family. You know, it's rare today.
Yeah, and I talk about this. We don't have any male masculine leadership in the government. Like we sort of did with Trump, right? But for the most part, that doesn't exist. It's all this let me take, and that's not masculine, guys. That's like you can be a man and be like, let me take and steal or whatever, but that's not how like men who are masculine, full of energy and creation act. Right? Because we make things, we build things, we explore the world. It's what we do. We don't just sit around and whine and complain. And it is a travesty how the culture is gone. And I've seen it again growing up. Now, my marriage to my ex-wife, like my daughter's 16, that ended many years ago over it's been 12 years now. And I'm remarried, and my wife now, currently, I'm blessed with another little girl coming very soon. You know, she's about 6.5 months pregnant right now. But I had to go through this phase, this period too, of sorting myself back out and doing the man whoring stuff, which I would say I'm ashamed of, but I would rather tell people my sins and be honest about who I am and where I come from so they can learn from my mistakes than to sit there and pretend like I was some perfect angel at some point in my life. And it wasn't until I cut out all that stuff, I renewed my relationship with Christ, and I made a commitment. I mean, a really hardcore commitment, not to be that way anymore. You know, a point where I had to fall down on my knees and just give everything over to God, that things changed for me. And it was a long time, about 1.5 years before I dated again. And it right away, as soon as I had established all those things, I think I saw 3 women before I met my wife, and all of those women were basically cut out like immediately. As soon as there was nonsense, there were red flags, there was anything, all that stuff I would have put up with when I was a boy was gone, because now I was a man. And I was like, nope, you're not worth it. I don't care if there's sex involved or whatever else. You might be hot, it might be a fun night, but you ain't worth it. And it ain't worth my soul, you know? So yeah, I don't know. Tank, you got anything, man?
I mean, yeah, we're kind of rehashing some things that we say a lot on here. But I think the point that we're really getting at with all this, the whole thing about, you know, how men live their lives and how they're trained to live their lives, really what we're witnessing is a societal decay, right? And for me anyway, and you know, in my journey through knowledge, if you want to word it that way, I'm concerned in, you know, how we got here, and there's a lot of quick answers for, like, you know, you could look at something like the past 5 years, the past 10 years, and you can kind of like make a little bit of a guesstimation. We see the direction it's headed, but you know, I harp on this a lot, that it's not just about looking in the past. Like a lot of people on the right, the conservative mindset of people tend to look at like the 50s and say, you know, life was better. But really, for me, when I look at it, I think that the 50s were, or the 19th or 20th century was when we really started seeing the decline early in the 20th century. So I'm really focused on looking back even further than that. What did we lose in modernity from pre-modernity, and things like, so a lot of conservatives, they want to focus on the nuclear family. Well, I think that's kind of a down step. Like the extended family is really where I want to put my focus on, in terms of, you know, righting the wrongs that we live in now. Like I didn't get the opportunity to be raised by my grandparents. I barely knew my grandparents. I didn't know any of my great grandparents, and now, you know, pretty much everyone I know in my age group that grows up and you know, gets a job and goes to college, they move away from their families. So in a lot of ways, you know, it's going to be hard for my children, if I have any, to know their grandparents, just because of the distance, because we're so spread out. We've lost our cluster, as it were. So I mean, it's a very unfortunate situation, but I think it's something we need to focus on a lot more. I think it's something we miss in these conversations about how important your family and your tribe are, and how it gets passed down, and how to right these wrongs. It's going to be a multi-generational step, if that makes sense.
Yeah, amen. Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Elliott, do you got any advice generally for men where to get started with themselves if they're young? They're stepping out to the world, what they can do to kind of focus themselves and their pursuits, their energy, especially like their sexual energy, because that's a big thing for young men, right? I mean, we were all there once. I was a young, horny teenager at some point. I really wasn't promiscuous until after my my first wife, but still, do you have any advice on that? How young men can channel that and maybe see some light at the end of the tunnel, kind of thing?
Well, I really like what Tank was saying before about having our elders around, the fathers, the grandfathers, the great grandfathers, the uncles, the great uncles, multi-generational. And, you know, from my anthropological studies and understanding, I guess, the way things used to be pre-modernity, there were always some form of initiation for young men. The fathers, the grandfathers, they all recognize that for this boy to become a man, two things must happen. And this is, you know, based on cross-cultural references and studies done by Robert Moore, Robert Bly. And the two things that they recognized that all these cultures had was, number one, a movement away from the mother, a movement away from the world of the mother, which basically means all things pleasurable, all things material, like food and comfort and masturbation and video games and just effeminacy in all its forms. Anything that keeps us trapped in pleasure, passion, feeling, all that shit. It's all mommy associated stuff. It's all emotional stuff. It's very feminine stuff, effeminate stuff. And it's okay for a young boy to be that way. But once testosterone comes in, starts bubbling up, he is given a responsibility. It's a responsibility to be a man. And so what the fathers would do is, step one, like I said, is a movement away from the world of the mother. But step two is always an atonement with the world of the father. Atonement with the world of the father requires a clean slate. It requires a clean break from the world of the mother. And so what are the things that keep those trapped in pleasure today? These are the things that in order to create that clean slate, there needs to be austerity. There needs to be austerity. There needs to be challenge. That means that you've got to rid yourself of attachment to all pleasures, all comforts. One of the first things that they would do is that they would pull the boy up out of his mama's hut and they would make him fast. They would have him fast for days. Just don't eat. Don't eat. My brother was a part of a Native American sun dance ritual, and they took him up and they called it a vision quest. They took him up to the top of a mountain and he had to sit on a rock that was on a cliff. And they drew a circle around that rock and they said, you have to sit there. He sat there for 4 days, sun up, sundown, sun up, sundown, sun up, sundown, sun up, sundown, with no food, no water. That was a part of his initiation.
Yeah.
And so when we don't have our ancestors, we don't have our elders, we don't have the older men in our society to strip us away and do that kind of thing for us, we have to in essence do it for ourselves. And so that means you go on detoxes. You have to go through the pain of, hey, fasting, but not just fasting from food, fasting from video games, fasting from porn, fasting from masturbation, fasting from girls, fasting from Netflix, fasting from Instagram, getting away from all these addictions, drinking alcohol, smoking weed, all these various things that keep us still like a little boy seeking his mommy's baba. And so when you ask me what are the first things that we should do, or how should we go about this, given our, the diabolically disoriented world we live in right now, the first thing men need to start looking at in themselves is, what kind of austerity can I bring to my life so that I can break myself from my inner baby boy? And so usually guys, like you had that experience. If we don't do it for ourselves, or somebody doesn't do it for us when we're young, life does it for us. But it usually happens later, like with a divorce, or like a real bad injury, or a real bad addiction to alcoholism or something like that. And then it gets so bad that it's basically like God taking a baseball bat to your head, and it's like, boom, okay, now you ready to wake up?
Some of us are stubborn, Elliott. Some of us are
well. To kind of go off on what Elliott's saying here. What you just said is very poignant and very enlightening. However, this is something our great grandparents knew, right? So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure for the Catholic Church, but the Orthodox Church, Lent just started in Monday. Monday was the first start of Great Lent. So in the Orthodox Church, we don't just give something up. It's a very specific fast schedule. So you don't eat meat, dairy, olive oil, wine. It's a bunch of stuff. It's a very strict fast schedule. I'm terrible at it, but this is something generationally our forefathers knew, that depriving yourself was good. It's something you need to go through. And we live in a very consumerist driven, it's all about me, and a society today where the concept of depriving yourself is that you're missing out, or that you're losing something, rather than building yourself up through this sort of, trial, as it were. So it's like what you're saying, but the way I look at it is that it's unfortunate that it needs to be stated now, because that means we've lost it in the past.
Yeah.
Sorry. Self-discipline is hard too, though. As in, you have to self-motivate. Whereas if there are good fathers around, good leaders, good elders, if there's leadership, they will motivate you. I promise.
Right.
That's how it works in the military. But if you are on your own, you have to self-motivate, and that is hard on a on a psychophysiological level, like on a neurochemical level. It is difficult. You have to repeat this pattern over and over again, even when you don't want to do it. Right. And then you have to let the patterns that you don't like, say watching porn, die. They have to go extinct, because otherwise you're reinforcing that neuron that has built for that habit. And you're talking about the chemical reactions and everything else, the dopamine release. So it's very hard. It's much easier to just allow yourself to go into that hell. But the problem is, you will be in hell. Yeah. You will hate yourself, and you will be miserable if you do not self-discipline. Right. And discipline equals freedom, as Jocko Willink says and wrote a book about. And it's absolutely true. I just talked about this the other day on my channel, and one of the things you were talking about there, Elliot, was we don't have rites of passage for men in our society anymore. And on an anthropological level, we look at societies over time, and there isn't always or really adolescence in all societies, but there is here in the Western world.
Right.
And it's like we have left our boys off out in the middle of the wilderness with their mommies, and all the daddies went away.
Right.
And what are mommies going to do? They're, you scratched your elbow, Billy. Let me wipe that up. Or, are you hungry? Oh, let me do this for you. Let me wipe your bum. And men, we cannot suffer that. If we do suffer such things, we remain little boys. We have to become independent and creators and be off on our own. So I don't know, man.
But that's hard, right? And that's the thing that I think that's the thing a lot of people misunderstand about when these conversations come up, is that it is difficult. It is very difficult to be pure in this society, to become you've got a lot of currents working against you. So yeah, I can definitely sympathize with people who want to better themselves but are having trouble because of the cultural milieu that they live in. But I think one of the big things one of the big messages we have to get out is that depriving yourself is good. We have to get over the idea that because we're taught that if you don't have what your neighbor has, that you're missing out and you've been oppressed, basically. You don't have all the things that such and such has, so something's wrong with their society because we're not equal.
Right.
Being unequal is good in a lot of ways. It makes you a better person and makes you appreciate what you have a lot of times. The thing about Greek Orthodox fasting is, like I was saying, it's very strict, and during the fast, a lot of people pretty much just eat like falafel. I don't know if you've ever had it, but it's basically a pita and some chickpeas. It's not much, but for a lot of places in a lot of the world, that's all they ever had.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, they were probably better for it. But anyway.
Well, Elliot, you hit on a point too, about the fasting thing, because I have been the last couple of years been doing a at least a week-long fast at the end of the year after Christmas. And I did it this past year. I talked about it on All Minus One. And I also talked about the idea of fasting from media and fasting from all these other distractions and things. At the same time, while I did that, I carried on with my life. I exercised. I did as the Lord said. I didn't put on any sort of sad face or anything, but I looked good and just went about the world. And I didn't go around telling everybody, hey, guys, look, I'm fasting right now. No, obviously, I did that on my channel, but it was more to inspire people to self-discipline. And I think that's one of the best ways you can self-discipline. And I know you have experience in this because over the last year or so, I think it was, forgive me because I watch so many different channels, but over the last year or so, you've been doing a lot of like very prolonged fasting. And I would assume it's impacted your life for the better in some sort of spiritual manner, has it not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was really the point of it. Is a craving for pain. I think a lot of men experience. I know I do quite a bit. That's why I became a strong man. That's why I played football. Like the craving for challenge, the craving for getting mortified, just beat down. And I think that's fasting, I was drawn to fasting because it seemed like a challenge, something that was just going to make me tougher, something that was going to give me some pain so that I can grow through it. And so I moved in that direction with it, had that experience, and highly recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's because it's such a primal thing, like everyone wants to eat. It's such a good way to self-discipline. You just have to make that decision. Yeah. But look, man, you said you were good for about an hour. I know you got an early bedtime. You get up early. Yeah. You're a busy man. You got a lot going on. So if you want to cut out, feel free. If you want to hang out and talk with us for a little bit longer, but I don't want to keep you if you're fading. I appreciate you being here. And perhaps maybe we can do it again sometime in the future. So you let me know, if you need to go or not, man.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna cut out. But
All
this
right.
was fun, man. I really enjoyed it. I didn't know what we were gonna do with the memes. And I'm pleasantly surprised. So thank you for inviting me on your show and having me here, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Thanks.
man. Yeah. Like I said, we met the other month. I know you probably meet so many people, but we met at the Warrior Protector
Yes,
Summit.
we were very intimate, you and I.
Yeah, a little bit. But I knew who you were right away because I remember we went down to the range the first day and someone was like, "Oh, what do you do?" And you're like, "I'm one of the instructors." I'm like, "Oh, this is Mr. Elliott Hulse." And you're like, "Hey, what's your name?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Bill." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a fan, man. I love your stuff. You do good
that was
material,
cool.
and you're very, of course, you've been on YouTube forever, right? 2007, right? Something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you're very much out there. Obviously, the way the YouTube or internet worlds works, it doesn't mean you're super famous or anything, but you are well known. So anyone, if you guys want to go check out Elliott, if you don't know who he is, his links are in our description. I'm pretty sure all of them that I'm aware of. Your website. Let's see. I got your website. I got your YouTube. I got your Twitter, and I got your Instagram. You got anything else?
No, that's it. I don't use Twitter. I got kicked out of Twitter.
Oh,
I still have an account, but they booted me out and they won't let me like log back in. And like, I think they in a way banned me. They're like, yeah, we'll let you have your account, but you can't log in, no matter what I can do. So that's it. Don't even follow me on Instagram. I'm not Instagram. I'm sorry, Twitter.
Twitter. Yeah, that's what you were saying. Your brain was going to go after so long. So
yeah, I'm fading.
It's Elliott's bedtime, folks. So sorry, guys. Maybe if we have him on again, we'll get him on sooner if we can. Anyways, man, thanks for joining us, and be well. And hopefully, I'll see you again down at Rich's or something.
Yep, for sure.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, guys. Thanks. Thanks. Bye. Oh, okay, cool.
All right,
so we're still going for till 9, guys.
Yeah,
we left in the chat here
talk for a while. We will engage with you. Mr. Boot 2, Raph, I saw that you had put in there about like, so what do you do? And I said I would ask him, but we kind of talked around it. You said paternity, fraternity. Go do jujitsu, dude. Go to a wrestling gym. Go to a kickboxing gym. I promise you, you'll get fraternity real quick. And do something where you are in a primarily male atmosphere and that actually requires like man stuff, like beating the crap out of each other. So, and I say that, I laugh about it, but it's much like Elliott just said, like we almost require or seek pain, right? I don't know, Tank, what you have plenty of experience with this as well. I don't think as much as me. I mean, you actually have more grappling experience than I do, but I don't.
Yeah, I've done some grappling. I'm not
my stand-up's like 30 years old though. So I mean, I've been doing it for like 30 years. So
yeah, I've done enough jiu-jitsu to realize I'm not that good at it. I'm not gonna be winning. I'm not gonna be invited to Abu Dhabi anytime soon or anything like that. But yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very much it can be very fraternal. Of course, it's going to depend on the gym you go to. That's going to have a lot to do with it. But yeah, I mean, you get in there and you start. It's really good if you can start going. If you go to a gym and people are starting the same time you are, like if you happen to like run into some dudes who are it's their first or second or third class, and it's your first or second or third class. You guys are trying to kind of get together. That's always fun because you guys are getting your asses kicked together, and it does kind of feel like a sort of like a rite of passage, as it were. So yeah, I mean, it's so anything fraternal. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be join a fly fishing group, like play D&D with some guys, like anything that gets you in a room with some men and you guys can just shoot shit is good because like. Not to get like completely black-pilled, but if push were to come to shove and some of the societal things that we talk about, those are gonna be the kind of guys that you can rely on. Like how many people in your life can you say like, if some shit really goes down bad, this many people have my back. Hopefully it's 100, but I think for a lot of people it's usually less than 5. So
Yeah, and also be wary who you make friends with too.
no,
And
for
not saying
sure,
that you
yeah.
shouldn't, but try and find loyal people. In our youth, we tend to not find good people, which is people we click with, and we don't really analyze their morals. But as you get older, you need to have some more savvy and discern who you hang out with.
Yeah,
Um,
and to me, this is what I call a 29 problem, right? Because these are the problems you don't really have after 30. You've kind of figured it out a little bit more. You're like, oh, I know the kind of dudes to avoid. But in my early 20s, I hung out with some absolute fuck faces. Just the kind of dudes that I wouldn't give the time of day to right now. If even with all the shit, like I hung out with them, if they were to call me right now, I'd probably ignore the phone call. But past 25 into 30, I met some good dudes. Not to say that I haven't met some shitty dudes, but I've met a lot of good dudes, and it seems to be like it gets a little bit easier once you get a little bit older.
yeah, well, same with women, just relationships
Yeah.
in general. When you're a teen, that's the other thing. This is the thing why we need good parenting and leadership is because when you're a teen, you're very exposed. And the way the world works today is essentially both your parents go to work, they let society take care of you, and therefore everyone's a degenerate. In any case, I got a specific question here from Mr. Boot 2 about how would I balance fighting, fasting, lifting, taking notes. Here is what he says. Well, look, I'm old balls and I'm not super old, but old enough to have accumulated mileage. So I am up and down in my workout ethic and stuff like that. Right now, I am working out regularly, but that's because I have a lot of injuries and nothing major where I've had surgery, but I'm also stubborn and won't do surgery. So, like I have to be not able to walk for months to go down that line or something. So in any case, but what I would say is like at minimum, you should do something like work out 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. And it doesn't have to be hard, but light, like walk, do some push-ups, some squats, some pull-ups. I don't know. Do something like that daily. Move your body. I would say do mobility drills. Do arm rotations, move your spine. There are specific drills I could give you. It's kind of hard as I'm sitting in a chair to tell you how to like do certain things versus if I was training you specifically directly. You want to work your core, your body. A lot of people train improperly. Your body basically is strongest from the center outward. And what most people do is they train outward toward inward. And that will cause a lot of injuries. So in any case, aside from that very global advice there, do something daily. Do something a little bit more strenuous, like heavy lifting or hard running or whatever, like 2 to 3 times a week, depending on you. Don't jump into anything immediately. I'm a big fan of Pavel Satsatsulin. I'm actually was way back in the day. Directly behind my head there is a cert for when I was a kettlebell instructor way back in 2005, and that's a picture of him over there. I don't know if you know Pavel, that guy right there. So he was not necessarily a mentor of mine, but I was in that circle, that sphere. So one of the head of that group. Firas Zahabi, who is an MMA coach in Montreal, train guys like George St. Pierre, that kind of stuff. Very much into the idea of working out to a point where you feel good afterward, but you're not sore. Most people tend to overdo it. Think of the long game, right? When I was a young guy, I was a hard charger and was doing stuff that was hurting me and crazy. And there's a lot out there now. That you don't have to make those mistakes, but most of us still do because we're all a bunch of idiots, us guys. As far as fasting, you don't need to fast that often. Fast like one day a week, or like one of the things that I do, unless like I'm like drinking, like I'm out drinking or something, which is not something I'm doing that often. But I'm drinking right now, but I guarantee you, I will probably eat whenever I'm done ingesting whatever 12 hours or longer after I'm done ingesting things. So fast nightly, at least 12 hours. You can go up to 16 if you want to push it, but do that. Like once a quarter, go a day or two. You know, every 3 months, go a day or two with a prolonged fast. Like it's harder in the first 2 or 3 days. Once you get through that second or third day, it's easier. There's all kinds of stuff on the interwebs you can research for yourself. Go check out my video about fasting over on All Minus One. I give you some tips and some links to go look up for yourself if you want to go explore it. There are things you can do to prep your body for fasting. Let's see here.
On fasting, just to kind of this is kind of a weird thing. So I had never heard of intermittent fasting until a couple years ago.
I've been doing it since like 04 or 05. Yeah.
Now I am also a skinny fuck, and my whole life I've kind of been like, why am I such a skinny fuck? And I don't know what it is, but food does not taste good to me until afternoon, at least till after 11. I've never been able to eat breakfast my whole life. So I've kind of always intermittent fasted just because that's how my body works.
Kiz is here.
Hey, what's up? So it's kind of a weird thing. So one could say that I've kind of done intermittent fasting my whole life, and my experience is very different because my wife got into intermittent fasting. She's trying to lose weight, and she wakes up in the morning and she's starving. Now jot this down because it's the only time you go hear me talk about science, because I'm anti-science. But a guy by the name, who wrote the book? It's called The Obesity Code. Jason Fung. He's a Chinese. He's Chinese American.
Yeah, Dr. Fong. Yeah.
Yeah. So I listened to one of his talks, and he was talking about your body works on hormones, right? So your hormones are how it talks to itself, how your brain talks to the rest of your body. So there's a hormone, I think it's called ghrelin.
Yep.
That hormone. So he did a study that shows that, you know, your ghrelin rises when you're used to eating. So if you're used to getting up every morning at 7:30 and eating food, then your ghrelin is going to spike at that time, regardless of whether you're not. It's going to make you hungry. If you get out of that habit, if you stop eating breakfast, then your ghrelin is not going to spike. And for me, I could go a lot of times to 1 o'clock without even thinking about food, probably because of those hormones. But anyway, I'm digressing here.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of the channel off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure if you guys go back to the beginning of the year, the fasting video, I'm pretty sure I covered one of the YouTubers I really like, and for some reason I can't think of his name. In any case, he does very good videos, talks often about diet and fasting. I would pretty much recommend everything that channel talks about. But again, go back to my video because I can't recall his channel. I'm subscribed to so many people, guys. It's, you know, at some point, what I've learned, that's what it is. Hold on. I'm finding it right now. I will put it in the chat. Wait.
Yeah, and that's the thing about fasting. Like if you're a skinny fuck like me and you're like trying to put on mass, it's hard. You know, because when I was working out, when I was actually trying to put on mass, I kind of gave up on that. But when I was trying to do that, you know, all the advice I was hearing was, you got to eat more. I'm like, bro, I'm not hungry. Especially when I was keto, because like I was so satiated, like I never got hungry. I could go to all day without eating. It was not even an issue.
Yeah, protein satiates, it suppresses ghrelin release. Ghrelin release is what makes you feel hungry and get hunger pangs. And after about a day or so, day and a half, 2 days, you won't feel that anymore. And after that, you'll enter a state of kind of a high, if you would. Now, when I was fasting, we did a show with Yiz, and I was not 100% only because I was water fasting. So I had already eased into a fast, had already or sorry, not water fasting, dry fasting. I had already water fast, which means I was only taking in water for a few days. And then I dry fasted for nearly 2 days, not quite, but I was in the middle of that, I believe. And so that put an extra stress on my body. But then that evening, like, I didn't even realize it. I like laid down a little bit after the show, like an hour or so, slept for like 2 hours. I just needed a nap mainly, felt great afterwards, felt great the next day. So fasting is one of those things that you definitely want to block out if you're going to do it for any extended period of time. However, you could do like traditional fasting, like Tank was talking about in the church as well, where you just limit the type of food that you eat. And another interesting book to check out is where I learned about intermittent fasting before it was intermittent fasting was this guy named Ori Hofmeekler, who wrote a book called The Warrior Diet. And that was very popular back in the early days of the kettlebell circles, back when Dragon Door was putting out a lot of stuff before Pavel split off and created his own company. He was with Dragon Door Publications. And again, that's where I learned of the concept. And I just don't like breakfast, man. If I eat breakfast, let me correct that. I love breakfast, but if I eat breakfast when I get up, I feel horrible. And there is a reason for that, because you have high levels of cortisol in your blood when you wake up. It's what signals your body to wake up. And that cortisol, being a hormone, also makes you like very, very likely to insulin crash if you eat a bunch of sugar and whatever else. So for me, I usually wait 2 to 4 hours, eat after I get up, 2 to 4 hours, and I usually eat high protein. I eat at least 3 eggs almost every day, often a lot of bacon. I tend to prioritize fat because fat's where all the nutrients are. I'm not trying to drop all this like nutritional knowledge on you guys, because this is like a ton of years of research on my own part. And then there are arguments about what does what, but I'm pretty convinced with the What I Learned channel's stuff, not because of him, but because I discovered it on my own, and he's just echoing what I've already learned.
Yeah, he's got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's one of the videos I watch a lot too. You know, and again, I don't believe in science, but as far as science stuff goes, he's pretty good. You know, you're talking about getting up and what you're eating a bunch of sugar. That's the other thing. My wife, she's really big like pancakes and Belgian waffles and stuff. And if I wake up and she puts a Belgian waffle in my face, I'm likely to commit domestic abuse. The idea, it just completely turns me off. I don't understand how people do it. Like all this powdered sugar and stuff. But some people like it. And that's probably why a lot of Americans are fucking fat. Because they wake up and eat Belgian waffles. So like when I do eat breakfast, I'm like, just give me sausage and eggs and coffee and I'm good to go. You know, but even then it's hard for me to do that.
But let's get back to the man building stuff, the masculinity stuff, because diet's an aside there. Another thing you can do, man, is you be the leader. And I know everyone thinks, oh, but I'm not that type of person. I'm not this, I'm not that. Look, guys, I do not consider myself the most articulate person. I know I hear other people I'm friends with, friendly with YouTube, that I have a lovely voice and whatever else. That's great that you all think that. I appreciate that, whatever. I stumble and stammer over my words all the time when I'm on here, when I'm on All Minus One. When I'm there the other day, I did a thing. What was it? Derisive, I think it was. Just keeps sticking in my head because I could see it. But because I'm dyslexic, I even know what the word says, but I can't say it. And I'm like trying to pronounce it, but it won't come out. And then like a minute later, I'm reading something else. I'm like, derisive. That's what the word was. Guys, this isn't my forte in any way, shape, or form, but I'm doing it because I feel compelled to, because I want to build communities. It was why I asked Elliott when we were doing the training stuff together. I don't know if Elliott really remembers me or not. Maybe he sort of did. Maybe I jogged his memory, but I know he trains lots of people. He does lots of camps. He, does whatever. We're not friends. He's just some guy I've been following for a while. Right. But, my point is I'm taking action in my life to do stuff that's better than just sitting around playing video games. And that's cool too, if you want to do that, but eventually you're going to get older, guys, and it's going to get boring. You're going to get lonely, and you're going to be like, what in the world have I been doing with myself? So take action on your own, build your own community, your own club, go make your own guy friends. Go, if you're into guns, go start a little gun club on your own or whatever. Do some airsoft, man. Look, guys crap on airsoft, and there are reasons to crap on airsoft, but airsoft is actually a really good training tool if you know how to do it appropriately. Go out to training. Elliott runs strength camps every year, a couple day camps where it's all about masculine bonding. There are a lot of groups that do this. Go look around the interwebs, and I get it. Cash is tight right now. I get inflation's happening. I get there's a lot of stuff going on. It doesn't mean you can't get together. And if worst comes to worst, man, I meet up with my best friend every Saturday practically and just watch UFC fights and spend 6 hours every week with my buddy, mostly just him and I. Sometimes his girlfriend's there, sometimes my wife's there, but mostly just him and I. And we just chill. And we haven't in a while, but, often with buddies like that, we'll jump each other randomly. Start wrestling, beating on each other, because that's what we do, because we're buddies and it's fun, and we're honing our own skills, and we know we have each other's back. So in any case, you be the creator of your own universe is kind of my greater point. I don't know. Got anything to say, Tank?
Yeah, a lot of it is just being social, and it's something that it seems like Zoomers, like the generation, just dressed right under the millennials. They seem to have the biggest problem with this, because I think they're so used to having like laptops and cell phones and online video games that they haven't had the need to go out and socialize as much as we have.
Let you carry the show.
Yeah, they haven't had the need to go. Oh God, I'm by myself now. They haven't had the need to go out and socialize as much as older generations. So, and I think it's to their detriment, because you'll see that these guys, they when they do have to be social, they just lose their shit. Some of it's personality. I'm kind of I don't mind getting up in front of people and talking shit. Obviously, because I'm here, but a lot of people do have problems with it. They have problems just starting conversations with people they don't know. I'll go to a bar or something. It's whoever's next to me ordering a drink. Like, I'll start talking shit. I'll go to a different country and I'll talk to anybody. I've never met a stranger, and that's something that I think people have lost. But to kind of round back to what we were talking about, you just got to go out and meet people, and you got to do things, and you've got to get over that. Oh, I don't want to do it. It hurts. Phones partially remove the social aspect of community. Yeah, exactly. And if anyone's interested, Ted Kaczynski talks about how technology has done that to us, but that's a different topic. But yeah, but what you're talking about, kids, is about phones. Is I've seen guys who like wanted to talk to a girl be in the same room with them with a phone, and instead of going up and talking to her, they text her, like literally 30 feet apart. So it's really a weird scenario we found ourselves in. But you've got to get out. You've got to meet people, and you've got to do something. You've got to start some kind of like you have to have a tribe, and you've got to figure out some common whatever to get your tribe going. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be the kind of guys that, meet every full moon and beat the shit out of each other around a campfire, other than it's cool. But not everybody's going to do that. You just do something, get out. And that's the problem with these lockdowns and this pandemic shit, is it's really put a hamper on people's ability to do that. Like,
and it's engineered that way.
Yeah, and I believe so.
To destroy that connection, because if we were all sitting around campfires and going over to homes and going out to bars and doing the things that we were doing, and don't get me wrong, people are still doing those things. Every time I've gone out to a bar, I can tell you, since the lockdown, and I talk to people at my favorite local establishment, everyone is thinking the same thing. Now, I'm more ready to be down the rabbit hole than other people. Yeah, you take your turn, Tank. In any case, I'm more ready to be down that rabbit hole of, oh no, this is government control. This is the NGOs, conspiracy theory, whatever you want to say about it, right? But a lot of people are afraid, but then they'll suggest it. And kind of like we were talking earlier with Elliott, those folks that are just completely afraid, I don't even know if I want to call them crazy, although I would say that and refer to them as crazy, it's not so much that, it's that they are brainwashed and they are still plugged into the matrix, right? They are Cypher. They're the guy that wants the steak. They don't care as long as they're taken care of. They're like, "Ooh, protect me." And by the way, folks, any of you out there who may listen to this, whether it is now while it is live or in the future, you cannot truly say you are in Christ if you are afraid of things in the world like diseases and dying. You can't be in Christ and be afraid of death. I'm sorry. It's just not. That's not a thing. It's just not a thing. Like Christ is like, you got to follow me and take up your cross and look what I did. I basically got tortured and executed, and you got to be able to be willing to do the same thing. So you can't be afraid of death and be in Christ. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, there's a lot of people that aren't thinking, and they're just operating. It's like they're NPCs or something. In any case, yeah. You got something else, man?
I do want to point out that the guy that Elliott Hulse just said I look like from the Matrix, Tank from the Matrix, for anyone who didn't see it. His name is Marcus Chong, and he is I just looked up his Wikipedia. He was born to an African-American father and a Chinese-American mother. And then he was eventually adopted by Tommy Chong. So that's...
Are you serious? Was Tommy Chong's adopted son? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he's been in a lot of shit too. He's got a pretty weird career. He was in Dallas, the show from 1979. If anyone's on Little House on the Prairie, like he's
got no idea that he was Chinese. Yeah. I thought that he was like a black Hispanic dude.
Yeah, so apparently I look like a Afro Chinese guy, which I'm cool with. That kind of makes sense.
You should put blackface on, but no, he's now that I'm looking at the picture. I mean, I knew who he was talking about, but you actually do have a little bit of a resemblance.
Well, I would say. My wife tells me,
dude, just don't go blackface.
My wife,
yeah,
my wife tells me I'm black where it counts. So I don't know what that means.
That's what I used to tell the inmates. Black from here down. We wore black pants. I mean, it worked. It was a good joke.
But about the lockdowns, it reminded me. To get like completely spill my heart here and everything. The lockdowns were really hard for me. I started ignoring them, so it doesn't matter as much. But I was having like some mild mental health issues over the lockdowns, and part of that was because I couldn't get out and talk to people. I didn't realize until it was taken away from me how important that is to me. Just go out and have drinks and just chat with people. What's your background? Where are you from? Tell me about your life. I love that. I love going out and talking to people. I love going to different countries and just talking to people.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that you did mention. I actually wanted to talk about because I'm actually rather introverted. I need to have my own time to recharge and get energy and all. I don't get energy from being around people. It actually drains me, but I come off very extroverted because I am sociable. And one of the things that I do love is getting to know people and just random conversations too. And if you go to a bar, and I experienced this when I was going to school full time the other year, where I'm just doing schoolwork all week long. And I'm like, okay, and this was before I was married. So it wasn't the other year. It was like 4 years ago. Feels like the other year. In any case, I'm like doing schoolwork all week long. And I'm like, okay, it's Thursday and I'm going to blow my brains out. The only person I've interacted with is my daughter and like classmates while I was there, but for the most part, not really interacting with them unless I'm in lab. And otherwise, I'm like, I need to go do something. So it's like, go out to the bar. And sure enough, I'd sit there and it'd take me about 2 beers to loosen up. But you sit there and, you end up talking to just the most random people. You just sit at the bar and people come up. And that's the whole point. That's why it's a public. It's there for the public to come and to have commerce. The Marine Corps was founded in Tun Tavern in 1775. If I'm not mistaken, the Army was founded much the same way. That is, in the United States, there are Marines and Army elsewhere in other nations. But the point is that this is actually a part of our society always. It's that campfire mentality. It's that sit around and socialize. And so Elliott's an early to bed guy. I would have actually brought up the campfires that we had at the Full Spectrum Warrior Summit if he was there, but I'm pretty sure he was already racked out by that point. But like, this is what we did as a culture for a long time. Before television, it was sit around the fireplace and talk and listen to stories or whatever. And before, or right before television, of course, there was radio, which was a similar time. But what we've done with the invention of television and radio is we've taken the home in that time, or the socialization of the community and friends or whomever else it may be, and we've abstracted that out to something completely impersonal. And then you get Cardi B doing WAP at the Grammys, and people basically reenacting the burning down of the Wendy's because of the one guy that was shot there justifiably because he grabbed a cop's taser, yada, yada, yada. Right? You have people that have the power and the control dictating to your family and your own psyche how you should be thinking and viewing the world. And that, my friends, is a recipe for disaster. You need real human interaction. You need real control of your life. You need real friends, real socialization, which is why we always talk about, or I always talk about, the community, and that we are a social creature and an individual within a collective, and we have to understand our participation in both. And when you take yourself away from that, when you isolate yourself, and you are, a guy, and I'm saying guys because guys do this far more than women, and you're going, no, I want to do this, I want to watch this, I want to play this game, and I'm only picking on gaming because, I mean, what else are you going to do at home unless you're going to watch porn for 15 hours or something? Yeah. But you're like, I'm going to withdraw into my own world. What you're not doing is you're not living your life as the creature you were made to be, which is a social animal. And maybe you're not good with women. That's fine. I'm not telling you to go pick up women. I'm telling you to go interact with other people in general, other men, have friends, build a community of your own, and take action and stop being miserable within yourself. And this is the stuff, again, we were talking about there needs to be leadership. There needs to be wisdom. Look, I'm not your daddy. I'm not going to sit here and give you dad advice or what I would tell my kids, but it is in part why I wanted to do this YouTube stuff, because, or internet webs, video stuff, is because I've been there and I've seen it in so many guys, and it doesn't have to be this way. And honestly, the only person stopping you, right, as cliche as it is generally you. It really is. You need to look in the mirror and pull the brakes off your own BS. So I don't know, Tank, what do you got there, man?
Yeah, like you're saying, like anything you can do to fuck these fucking lockdowns, right?
Right.
Like Kizza here saying, like, you can just ignore lockdowns, and I have for probably the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 months. I said fuck it, but I'm still a little bit isolated because a lot of my closest friends don't live around me, so I don't get to see them very often. But go out, meet people. It's a good thing. And you need to find something you can do. You were talking about video games, and I like video games as much as the next guy, but it kind of hampers your ability to be social in a lot of cases. So play video games, have fun at the house, and then go, or invite some dudes over. Like when I was young, we would play video games. You'd invite like 3 or 4 of your boys over, and you would all like hang out and play video games together, or you would
right. And who does that anymore, man? I spent the summer of my junior year going into my senior year playing GoldenEye, and like, and then when I went in the Marine Corps, I just murdered everybody playing GoldenEye on the N64.
When I was when I was like 24, right? One of my buddies got a little bit of legal trouble, and he ended up getting probation, so he couldn't be out of the house after 6. So I'd go over to his house, and we'd hang out in his attic and play Fallout and shit until like the probation officer came and checked on him. And we'd just be like, "All right, here we are, up here, like chilling."
We used to do crazy stuff when I was a kid. Like my buddy would come over, and so mom and dad don't watch, but if you ever do, you can find out now. You've never asked me about it, so it's not like it's a secret because I don't really care. But when we were like 15, 16 years older, my buddy would come over. The basement wasn't finished, but it was good enough. There was a couch bed down there, and he would stay the night. And we'd go out the back door of the basement and go run around town or do whatever. We had girls over sometimes. I mean, nothing like too crazy, but I'm just saying, like, we did crazy, weird stuff, and I feel like there's no risk in the world today. Like, I grew up in my early years in the 80s and then in my teens in the 90s, but I feel for me in the part of the world I lived in, I grew up almost like it was in the 1960s. It was like mom and dad wanted me to be home by 5:30 for dinner or something. And once I got home from school, I just did whatever I wanted. I'm talking about when I was like 6 or 7. We just ran around, did whatever, came back home, and that was good. One of the big problems in the world today is the helicopter parents. And we had technology. It was the beginning of technology. I had an old Atari back in the day, but then I got a Sega Master System, and then the Genesis, and eventually PlayStation, all that stuff moving up the line. And of course, I had buddies who had Nintendos and whatever. But like you said, we got together and we played video games. And even I still do that today. I don't really game, but now and again, my buddy and I will bust out Mortal Kombat. You're still interacting. You're talking trash. It's something guys do.
Yeah,
I trash.
I play Dungeons and Dragons now. I got some boys. I got like 4 of my bros that come over every other week, and we just get absolutely schnockered drinking beer and play. And it's like, I look forward to it all the time, and it's, people's like, well, Dungeons and Dragons is fucking stupid. I mean, yeah, it is. Of course it's stupid. You're playing make-believe with your adult friends, but it's something to get you to socialize with people so that you can like just have that kind of release, be around people that you can trust just for a little bit, because a lot of times in your life, you're not around people you can trust. So it's nice to have that sort of a release where you're just like, we're going to get together, we're going to drink some beer and eat some shitty pizza, and we're going to play make-believe with this stupid fucking game, and everyone's going to have a grand old time. It's good.
Yeah, William in the chat was asking, I just responded to, about who caused us to be entertainment focused. And it's not that anyone calls us. I'm not sure, obviously if you're being sarcastic or not, but like, it's not that anyone caused us. It's that it's in our nature to seek novelty and to seek entertainment because it's pleasurable. We get that dopamine kick. We forget about time. We lose ourselves. And it's harder to deal with the stress of the world. This is why fasting and working out and going out and doing like gun drills, man, just take 10, 15 minutes of your day, like 2 or 3 times a day, and the hours will stack up very quickly. And just work on your draw and presenting. Have a target, get your sight alignment, do all that stuff over and over and over again, and you will get proficient. I promise you, but it's boring. There's no dopamine center for that. And when are you going to ever use it? Like, you might do that for years and never have to pull a gun. You probably won't. And so it's like the long-term projection of your life could be, I'm going to sit back and be hedonistic and take in pleasure and be completely miserable at the same time. Or I can do stuff that I'm miserable in the moment. But man, when I get out on the range and I do stuff, oh man, I'm awesome. If I roll with guys, I'm probably going to get my butt kicked because I don't do that so much. But if I do stand up, I'm going to be pretty awesome because I've been doing it for a really long time. I'm obsessed with it. I walk around the house and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
You know, and my point is that there is a payoff there, because then I built this skill, I have something, and then someone wants it. Someone wants, maybe I don't have to sell it to them, but someone sees it as valuable and someone wants it. And then that's a friendship or a relationship I can make. And again, this is how you bond, but you have to be worth something. You can't be worth just, yeah, I exist, right? That's the fallacy that the old ladies today, the women, fall into, right? They exist. They're like, oh, I got a vagina, therefore treat me like a queen. And that doesn't really work, right? Nobody is like, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of simps out there, but generally speaking, nobody in their right mind is like, oh yeah, you have a vagina, therefore I'll put up with all of your nonsense constantly for sex. Any man who has any self-worth, who understands, and maybe you guys don't understand, because maybe that's an aspect of your life you need to develop, is your ability to talk to and engage with women. That's fine. But men who have experienced that, they're like, okay, cool. You're trash. You might be hot and it might be a fun time, but just like I said to Elliott earlier, it's going to destroy my soul. There are plenty of other women. And there are women out there for every single one of you too. If you're not good with women, I promise you. Look, Tank has a woman. I mean, that's perfect proof.
Yeah, I did it. It happened. It wasn't even that complicated, to be honest with you. But yeah, but to go back to William's question here, it's actually something that it's something that's dear to my heart. These various entertainments that became a priority, and that he mentions pleasure focused. So, guys, here's the thing. I'm not one to tell someone to read anything, because reading is absolutely boring.
Reading's gay.
Reading's gay. I don't even know how, to be honest with you. But there is a guy by the name of Ted Kaczynski that goes into this pretty in depth. Well, not really in depth. So I'm going to put in the chat. Everyone should read the Unabomber's Manifesto, because this is exactly what he's talking about, is how we've developed what he calls what's the word he uses? Shit. Hold on. I'm having a brain fart. Surrogate activities. So to sum up the Ted Kaczynski's philosophy in like a sentence, the adding technology to our society has taken away our ability to engage in what he calls the power process. It was just basically you do something strenuous to overcome some kind of obstacle. We don't do that anymore, because technology handles all that shit for us. We don't have to go out and hunt elk. So what we do is we feel our need for this sort of, this activity, that feel our need for this activity through what he calls surrogate activities, just things like video games and bullshit stuff that we shouldn't care about, that we get really invested in because we don't have the proper outlet for it. So something to look into. I talk about, I know I mentioned him a lot, like in jest, but it really is a pretty interesting frame of reference to think about how we got to the situation to where things like digital devices and computers and social media and stuff that kind of run our existence. So just something to think about.
Yeah. Hold on here. I pulled up another screen real quick. I was looking at something. Let's see what else we have in chat here. Kiza asked if we saw the Mortal Kombat trailer for the movie, which I have, which does look quite awesome. Have you?
No, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it at all.
Oh, dude. I mean, if you're a big Mortal Kombat fan, I was more of a Street Fighter kid growing up, but I did always like Mortal Kombat. And
okay. Funny story about Street Fighter. It's quick. I'll let you do what you're going to do. So we're going to have Kit Cope on pretty soon, hopefully, unless it's cursed.
The 31st Kit will be on.
Yeah.
Yes. Kit will be on. I'm pretty sure, because he was like, I've been on 8 podcasts this year and I haven't missed one. And so he seemed determined.
So For anyone, this is the trailer, guys. So Kit Cup's going on. He's a four-time world Muay Thai champion.
Yes, he is.
And one of the questions I want to get to with this, how he even got into Muay Thai, because it really didn't get popularized until I'd say, UFC got really popular. But anyway, I'm getting off tangent. The way I first heard about Muay Thai when I was younger was through Street Fighter, because I played with Sagat, because he's the most badass character in Street Fighter, right? So, when we were younger, like me, like some of the guys in my community, we wanted to take martial arts. That's kind of what we're basing we take like Muay, like that. And we, of course, didn't have Muay Thai when I was younger. But my buddy always liked playing as Dalsim. So he was like, oh, he does yoga. I want to take yoga. That's going to be awesome. So his mom enrolls him in yoga. And he thinks he's going to learn how to like stretch his arms and breathe fire. And he's like, it was just a bunch of women and they're like bent over and stretching. That's not all what Street Fighter. So I completely like disillusioned him on martial arts for the rest of his life, because he was like, what the fuck? Yoga's nothing like what Dalsim does.
Because it said he did something with a speech from M. Bison from a movie. And are you talking about the Van Damme movie? Because that's the only one I really remember. I know there's some anime movies.
Yeah, I saw the Van Damme movie.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't even remember that, but I don't know. I was a fighting game guy in general. Either that or first-person shooters. That's my general style. Very much the Star Wars Dark Forces series, all that kind of stuff. But in any case, yeah. Any other questions to come in, guys? We'll give you a minute. Dalsim has long arms and legs. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, my buddy is totally disillusioned from that whole experience. I was like, at least you could have took like Kung Fu and like Chun-Li or something, I guess. I don't know. She was the other guy that I'd whoop ass with when I was younger. I did see the animated Street Fighter movie. Now that I remember, it was pretty good. Yeah, I think you could see like Chun-Li's titties in it.
Well, that made it the best movie ever.
Yeah, when I was like 16 or when I wasn't even that old.
Wait,
I was like,
stump tank.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, I don't know. Like I said, if you have any questions in the chat, please send them in, because we're running out of time. There's about a 20 to 40-second delay, I believe, but we're going to close it out here soon, because we can keep rambling on, but we try to keep the show to 2 hours unless we have guests on who wish to continue to talk. I believe our guest next week is Jeremy and Delaney of The Weekly Narrative. And the week after that will be Kit Cope. That is on the 31st of March. It will be at our regularly scheduled time at 7 p.m. And then that same week, on April 2nd, we will have a drinking stream. Mr. Kizza GT, who is currently in the chat, he will be there, I believe, according to his word to me.
Will he be drunk? Will he be drunk?
Oh, we'll see. We'll see a fine drunken Englishman. It'll be pretty late for him. I do know that. We will have Yiz the Eunuch on. We will have Don the Pleb. And we will have Jeremy and Delaney as well. So it will be a full house.
It's going to be an absolute disaster.
There will be rules this time. We'll probably maintain a 2-hour streaming limit, but we'll see. Hey, by the way, Alan West was on Tim Pool last night, basically giving away Tim Pool's location. So everything that I said about Tim Pool, they may have doxed him, which I did not. By the way, Alan West, Colonel Alan West, former, he was a congressman, right? Alan West.
Yeah.
Was like basically on Tim Pool's show, like, oh yeah, here. Oh yeah, well, we have this area around here and right over the river in Harper's Ferry. So, how dare you ever proclaim that I doxed anybody? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, Tank.
Boot, we cannot do gamer words. Well, I say that, but they'll probably happen anyway. But we'll see what happens.
By the way, guys, before we do cut out, Tank and I are talking about doing a call-in show of our own. On Sundays, we will probably start streaming on Sundays. It'll be April 11th is the date.
Mm-hmm.
So we will start then. It doesn't mean we will have a call-in show then, but we are trying to set up things to allow you guys to call in and talk if you want for a few minutes, if you would like. Have some questions to us directly. It won't just be chat. And I guess that's about it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. We are over on D Live, though no one watches us over there anymore because D Live went to poo real quick, right?
Yeah, real quick.
I don't know. You got anything, Tank?
No, that's all for me.
All right, guys. Well, again, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Do not hit that notification bell because that's gay. And anyone who asks you is also gay. And with all that said, this has been the ends justify the memes. And remember, the ends always justify those memes. Play the outro, Tank.
I'm talking about all the way to the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah. Macho madness, yeah, it's got more to offer than President Jack Tunney thinks that I got, yeah. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. Cards stacked against the Macho Man Randy Savage in WrestleMania 3. Yeah, let me say it, yeah. Let me say it out loud. And